All right, let's get back to home ownership and talk about these interest rates. Actions by the Federal Reserve has sent home affordability to its lowest level in almost 40 years. Let's talk about the state of the housing market here in North Texas in particular. Joe Atkins, who is a broker with Joe Atkins Realty, is with us this afternoon. Joe, I have been checking in with you for these Right on the Money segments since we started in the pandemic and all of the different gyrations that we've seen in the market. And once again, we're in a really odd place right now, aren't we? And it's being driven by those mortgage rates.
Jason, I've been talking to you since 2020, giving you some updates. And, every time I tell you I see something I think I've never seen before, we're there again. Where we're at, on average, somewhere around 7% interest rates on a, typical 30-year. We're still at historical lows as far as inventory goes, and the market just doesn't really know what it wants to do.
And Joe, when we talk about that, when we talk about mortgage rates being, above 7%, and we look at, just a year ago, they were sitting at around 5%, you're talking about, in many cases, that's a difference of several $100s a month on a monthly mortgage note. Are you seeing people who have been desperate to get into a home and they've been dealing with all of the other craziness of this real estate market, and now they're just saying, man, I got to back out of this right now. I can't afford these interest rates.
Right. So, we're coming off of the crazy bidding wars of, 2021 and first half of 2022, where a lot of people were getting bid out of homes. And, rates started ticking up in June 2022, hitting 4.5, 5. Now, we're in the 7 to 8 range. So now you got people that couldn't get in a house because they're getting outbid. Now, some of these people just can't afford the payment based on where interest rates are. So it's, the housing market is ever changing, and it's changed a lot over the last year.
Joe, we know that the Fed has really slowed down, though, these interest rate increases over the past, a couple of meetings here. There's been some thought that maybe, eventually they'll start easing off here and going in the other direction. Are you seeing people who are getting in, they're holding their nose, they don't like this 7% plus mortgage rate, but they're thinking, maybe in like a year or 2 years, I can refinance all of this at a lower rate after they fall back down some?
Yes, and what I think a lot of the buyers take right now is, I could not get into a house, say, a year to 2 years ago because I didn't have the buying power to go 50, 100,000 over asking, so they're getting outbid. Now you have less people making offers compared to, those times. So now they're like, you know what, I'll suck it up, get in a house, because I think everybody in our industry seems to think when rates do drop, we're going to see another run to the market, and I think you're going to see a lot of bids happening, when rates start to come in.
And Joe, we're not seeing the price relief. So sometimes, if you do see the mortgage rates jump up quite a bit like they have in the last year, you might see some price relief where the price of the house goes down, and that kind of makes up for that extra interest that you're having to pay. But we're not seeing that house price relief either. So it's like the double whammy if you're in the market right now and you need a place.
Right. I mean, typically when rates are high, it usually is reflective of, high unemployment, things like that. And we don't have that. And we're also coming off of historical low rates. So if you're sitting at a 2.5%, 3%, even 4% rate, chances are you don't want to sell your house to give that rate up unless you have to. And that's the reason why inventory is so low right now.
Now, that being said, let's say it's time for me to put my home on the market. I'm ready. I've got some plans. I know where I'm going to move, et cetera. How is the market right now for me as a seller? Do I get greedy like I might have a year ago, or should I not take it for granted because I might end up sitting there for quite a while with a for sale sign?
Right. So in the current market, houses are still selling. I think average days on market now is ticked up to 28 days, which still is historically low. But you do need to know your house needs to show well. It needs to be priced right. and location matters. So at the end of the day, we still do get multiple offers on homes. But with that being said, there are a lot of homes that are sitting on the market for an extended period, because if you don't fall into the, it shows great, it's priced right in a, great location, your house could sit. So, this is the most price sensitive market we've probably been in since COVID.
Interesting. So price correctly if you're going to put your house out there. But Joe, I do like that you bring up the multiple offers thing, because I have a friend who just bought, and you can't assume that just because the home prices are still up there and the interest rates, the mortgage rates are really up there, that you can get by with, kind of putting in a soft bid, because there was a bidding war in that one and it went substantially above what was being asked for. So,
Sure.
Think accordingly if you're heading out there in that market right now. Joe Atkins with Joe Atkins Realty in Dallas. Really appreciate it, Joe. It's been great keeping up with you all the way through the pandemic. This has been a wild ride the entire way.
Definitely. My pleasure. My pleasure, Jason.
Until next time. Thanks, man.
All right. Take care.